Welcome back to Interconnected. My name is Jordan Saunders, CEO of the Resource Key, and I am excited to kick off the new year with our guest, Maria. I will go ahead and turn it over to you, Maria, to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your work, and also where you're based.
Well, thank you so much, Jordan, for having me. My name is Maria Chisolm. I am a Spanish-speaking speech-language pathologist. I am in my 16th year of practice, which is something I never thought I'd be able to say. A little bit about my work is that clinically, I specialize in working with culturally and linguistically diverse clients. And I also offer professional development around cultural linguistic diversity and best practice for multilingual learners. And I also do workshops on things like leadership. I also offer consulting for private practitioners who want to start or scale their businesses. And something that I love about this field is even after 16 years, I'm learning something new every single day. And I am based in the Denver metro area.
Oh, I love that. I love that the learning something new part is just so relevant. I feel like there's always something that I'm learning, I feel like, and I'm glad that we have that same experience. It seems like every professional journey has a different story with passion for making an impact, or maybe if you're watching, you may have a different journey. As time goes on, I don't know if you've felt like this, but you may discover that some of the greatest influence can come from helping others to rise or empowering others. And so, someone that may be watching may be wondering what drives someone like you, maybe Maria, to make the shift to go from serving clients directly to mentoring and empowering an entire community of professionals. So, can you tell me a little bit more about what inspired you to transition from providing direct speech language services to mentoring and consulting?
Well, a couple of reasons. I still do work a little bit clinically. Of course, the bulk of what I do now is consulting and coaching and mentorship and professional development, but I do still have my toe in clinical work, which I do think is important. What inspired me to make the transition, though, was when I first started work, both clinically and in my private practice, I made a lot of mistakes. And I was inefficient with my time. I was also inefficient with my money. And I wanted to help people avoid those mistakes because I look back now and I could have saved a lot of headaches, I think, if I had someone sort of guiding me through the process. And also, I didn't have very good systems in place. I didn't even know what it was to have a system. So to be able to work with others now to think in that way, in that big picture way of how do I make this the most efficient possible, it gives me a lot of joy to be able to help other practitioners come to those conclusions.
Thank you for your transparency. I think a lot of times, and maybe it's just me or someone that's maybe watching, may feel as though when people start private practices or even starting their own business, it feels like you have to have it all together. And it feels as though sometimes we're looking at others and thinking, oh my gosh, it looks like they knew exactly what to do when they started. So the value of what you are providing is needed because you've been there and you're able to guide someone through the process. And so you did state that you're still doing direct speech therapy. So how has your background as a speech language pathologist shaped the way you empower other professionals to build sustainable, culturally responsive practices that really transform both the lives and their communities?
Yeah, well, I think all of us as speech language pathologists, our clinical training really has us focus on being active and intentional listeners. So I think bringing that from my clinical work to my consulting work is really important because you have to have that connection with your clients, whether it's clinical or whether it's consulting, to be able to really get down to what we need to focus on. And then, as far as working with culturally and linguistically diverse and multilingual learners, being able to look at the evidence-based research and taking that into clinical practice and being able to use it practically is a lot different than just reading the research and sort of translating it into professional development. I'm able to do both: read the research, apply it practically, and then talk about what it actually looks like. And then also, I think what we're learning now is that these same principles that we can apply to working with culturally and linguistically diverse learners and multilingual learners, we also find that those same techniques work really well for neurodiverse learners or those who are justice involved or at risk for justice involvement. So when we apply these techniques that work for so many different populations, everyone benefits.
Yeah, you bring up a few good, really great points. One, you did mention about systems, and then you also mentioned about the application, because there's so much information that we're consuming on a daily basis. I can speak for myself, but someone may be watching may feel the same way. And a lot of times there may be a sense of feeling overwhelmed. Like if I read one more research based article and something that new that comes out, we have to like apply it immediately. So, can you talk a little bit more about maybe someone that's wanting to make a pivotal shift, but they feel like in order to do that, they have to add more to their plate? So, can you share a little bit about a story or maybe an experience that you may have personally about a time when you saw, okay, I need to make this shift, but I don't really want to add more to my plate. I want to work smarter to be able to focus on what really matters and add value to the people that I serve, that you serve.
Yeah, I've had this experience myself, where I am overwhelmed with information. So it's hard to figure out what to focus on. And I think it's counterintuitive, but learning how to say no to certain things. And I'm actually working with a client right now where they felt pulled in so many different directions. And of course, that leads to burnout. You can't say yes to everything, saying yes to every client, saying yes to every event. You can't do that. So the secret, and it's not really a secret, but
Mhm.
saying no, figuring out like what are the boundaries around my time, around the kind of clients that I want to work with, and starting to say no to things that don't fit within that framework.
Yeah, you you summed it up really nicely. Someone may be watching and think, oh, it's still so hard. For me, I can say personally that has been a learning experience as well. And I don't know if it's just, maybe it's just a speech language pathologist that I've spoken to, but so one of the qualities that is so amazing is the quality of being able to give. But with that, sometimes comes, where do you set the boundaries in order to be able to, for the people that you are serving, to be able to still provide that value and not being able to be pulled in different ways. Um, First and foremost, for yourself to be able to have that mental health and just be able to take care of yourself as well as being able to serve the people that you would like to serve. So I think that is so important. And it's so nice to have a resource like you to be able to guide through that, especially you having had that experience yourself personally. So that leads me into the next question. So oftentimes we hear about success requires this hustle mentality, if you there may be even a better word, but endlessly to be able to reach financial goals. But the most impactful leaders sometimes aren't just building businesses, but they want to also build balance. So can you talk about in your work how maybe a story or how you've helped professionals shift from the hustle mentality or that grinding mentality towards building financial goals and building a thriving and balanced practice? How do you ensure your solutions create that balance, but also are scalable enough to make a lasting impact?
Yes. Well, I'm thinking about one client in particular, the same client I referred to earlier, where they were sort of saying yes to everything. first figuring out exactly what they want to say yes to so they can know what to say no to. So, figuring out the right clients that align with their areas of expertise, developing those systems around intake or billing or communication with other professionals, discharge, whatever it may be. And then, of those things that they're doing and learning about in their practices, those things that they really don't like, figuring out how to delegate those. Because that creates more time and more mental space to have a bigger impact and a better relationship with work. And thinking about this same client 6 months later, they now have less stress, they have more time, they feel better about going to work. And now they have the space to think about, okay, do I bring on other practitioners so I can have a bigger impact in the community? And what will that look like? How will that change my relationship with work? And is that something that I really even want to do? Because it changes the landscape, right? When you bring other people into your practice. And I think it really helps to take a step back and look at what do you want your life to look like? Because if you don't mind working 60 or 70 or 80 hours a week, then it'll be a lot easier to reach these major financial goals, right? But some people don't want to do that. There are a lot of people that don't want to do that, that have families that they want to spend time with or hobbies that they want to pursue. So looking at that big picture, what do I want my life and my lifestyle to look like? And building towards that.
I love that. That question is powerful. Like, what do I want my life to look like? Because you're right. It varies from different people and their individual journeys. So I think that is a great question, and also too as it relates to mindset shift if that's needed. So you just in this short amount of time, and I love reading all the different things that you're doing in the community and the impact of your work. Um, so I wanted you to share what are some ways that people can be able to connect with you. Also, I would love to know if there are any upcoming projects or events or different initiatives that are on the forefront right now.
Yeah, I have. I have. There's lots of different ways to get in touch with me. Of course, you can message me on LinkedIn. You can schedule a complimentary consultation with me at my website. It's layers.consulting. That's the website. Or I have some standing events that I do. One is a cultural and linguistic diversity peer advisory group, and that is once a month. The next one is on January 23rd at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. We meet for an hour. And what we do is we talk about cases that we need advice on, that we're kind of don't know which is the best direction to go. And we get advice from our peers who are also in the trenches clinically. We share those cases without personally identifiable information, and those sessions aren't recorded. And if there is time after we're done discussing cases, we talk about a topic that's relevant to cultural linguistic diversity. And what we have on the agenda for our next meeting is disproportionality and special education. I also have a private practice collective, and we meet quarterly. The next one is on January 22nd, and that's at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. And what we do is we talk about some issue that as it relates to running a private practice. The topic for the January 22nd meeting happens to be practical strategies for building trust, which is a fundamental component of leadership, which we don't necessarily learn in graduate school. And that is followed by a Q&A where we can sort of learn from each other and our personal experiences in private practice. And I also have some conference presentations coming up here in Colorado Springs. I have one in California at their national or their state association on leadership in March. And I also have one at the Texas Association in May.
Oh, wow. So many great events coming up. I really love the one that you were talking about the monthly support and utilizing the cases. I think that is, I don't do direct speech therapy now, but when I was doing direct speech therapy, how valuable that would have been, just because one of the things about speech language pathology that sometimes some people may not understand is there's so many different specialty areas, and there's so many different cases that you may have. And so it is so nice to be able to have that support within the community, to be able to, collaborate and bounce different ideas off about how to navigate, or maybe research or articles that are available or tools that you're using. So that's wonderful that you do that, because I think it is so important, to be able to help with navigating different cases and making sure that you're providing the value to the people you're serving. So
Well, and that's an idea I borrowed from the mental health profession. They have peer advisory groups all the time. And I was like, why are we not doing this? So that's my contribution to the field.
I love it. And after, I'm going to get all of the information that you shared, just so that I can include it too in the recording of this. That way, people have those resources available to be able to reference if they're interested.
Great.
So we have about 5 more minutes, but I would love to, if there's anything else that you would want to share, in any of the areas that you work across with the work that you do, I would love to open it up for you.
Yeah, well, something that I realize now after like thinking about some of the things that I said, you know how when you meet with somebody and they're like, "Do you have any questions?" And then, "No, I don't have any questions." But once you hang up, you have all the questions. So something that I thought about after I finished talking was how important it is when you are starting a practice to be persistent and consistent and patient. Because I understand personally, I have gone through this. It's like, I've been doing this for 8 weeks. Why am I not seeing any results? And sometimes it takes a lot longer than that. So if you enjoy what you're doing and you have a good feeling, listen to your intuition about it, keep doing it. Just
I
my-
love that. That is a great way to close out. I could not agree with that more. Well, I want to thank you so much, Maria, for taking the time, for the work that you do at Layers Consulting and the work that you do in the community and the resources you provide. So grateful for your work and looking forward to continuing to follow your journey as well. And thank you all for tuning in to Interconnected, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.